it's very much...
it's a scene. Illuminati.
Yeah. Well put.
Wow. It's okay. So anyway.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I could go on.
Holy shit.
We put the word out to our fans.
Yeah,
our listeners.
yeah, that's true.
Our listeners.
Yeah.
We said, who you guys want to see? And we said, anyone, sky's the limit. Number one answer, Rodney Mullen.
Yeah. And then look what you did.
Here he is.
Because I didn't do it.
But here's the thing. Welcome, Rodney.
Yes, welcome.
Super stoked to be here. So good to see you, man.
Hawk, Wolf, Mutt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm
Right?
on it.
Are we still going with Mutt? Can we?
It's funny. I got good friends that still, like, when they send you emails,
Yeah.
Mutt. Yeah, it sticks. Yeah.
It sticks.
Yeah.
You don't seem that excited about it.
You got to talk on the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Christian
sorry.
did the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you had Christian.
Yeah. And
We had Christian. So it's the top picks were you and Christian. And then obviously Bones Brigade follows. But we got Christian here.
Christians must have been insane. I want to check it out.
He was here.
Yeah.
He was the last guest.
Yeah, he was
Awesome.
fun.
And now you're here.
How many have you done?
How many shows?
20?
No.
15?
Wow.
20?
Wow. So you've
Over
done a lot.
20.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, then, yeah, something like that.
Right on.
It's a blur.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to be here. It's one of those jobs like skateboarding where it's not really a job, but it's a job. So it's like, oh, I've got to go. I want to go.
Yeah.
Like usually we skate.
Yeah.
So I usually skate with him by myself.
Yeah.
Like me and him skate. But
Back in the ramp back
yeah,
then.
and I'm like, I would pay money to do this. Like in this, I get, apparently we get paid to do this.
Do we?
I know, right?
We're not sure yet.
Yeah. People like it. That's my main objective.
We get good feedback, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
And you're listening, and we're here. So we're here with Rodney Mullen. It's so exciting. I don't even know where to begin.
I do.
Okay.
Because you told me, when he said that you were going to be on the show, I was like, awesome. And then he said, yeah, we're going to have to do it late because he goes out at midnight and skateboards by himself until 5 a.m. every day. Every night, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Not quite as long. I usually get out about one, and then come back around 3:30, 4.
See, I do a lot of boxing these days, and I
Yeah.
made an analogy at the gym today. I was excited to talk to Rodney, and I can't stop telling people that story because I think that's so fucking hardcore. And so everybody that tries and trains and all the athletes I've known in the world, all the stars that I haven't met, their work ethic is insane.
Mm.
But I don't think Canelo Alvarez is at the boxing gym at 1 a.m. until 5 every day by himself. He goes to sleep. You just go.
It's just that time. Well, those guys are there all day, right? But night times for me, man, that's always been.
And by yourself.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I go so late, There's something about the rhythm of the night, but it's also, something about it brings something out of me. Yeah.
So if you had a friend that was out there and then he was like, oh, can I tag along? You'd be like, man, I'd really rather you didn't.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it always?
Yeah, you're never skating with other people, right?
No. I mean, if I were to see someone, go skate, mess around. Yeah, that's cool for a night or two. But when it comes down to the substance of what carries you through, the love of what you do, it's got to be solo at night.
And and you like just the peace, like in your own mind.
There's something about it. I'm not sure if it's peace. It's a version of peace. And which I'd like to hear more about you. I mean, the transition from skating to fighting.
Well, when you get a podcast, I'll be on it. We're interviewing you, dude. Trust me, I've covered my life a couple times on here.
We have covered that extensively here.
Y'all tune in.
We live here.
Yeah, everybody listening's like, oh man, don't make it say shit again. Go back to Rodney.
Let's talk about fighting. No.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, so that one, and then you just said before the show started that it rains a lot and you're in London,
right, yeah.
So you got a wetboard.
Yeah, right.
A board for being completely wet in the rain because you will skate by yourself in the rain.
Backtrack.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I knew when people asked about having Rodney, I knew that he was in England because he's been there for 5 months.
5.5. Yeah.
5 months with his girlfriend, fiance, and because she's working on films.
Yep.
We can get into that, and you can speak for yourself, of course. But I'm just trying to give it some context. So I hit up Rodney. I said, hey, when are you coming back? He said, I'll be back for a week.
Oh, it's only for a week. You're going back again.
Yeah, not back to London. God, it's crazy. Her life, she just flew back here for like 4 days and just flew over there, landed, and then she has to fly back in 2 days. Like, that's what her life is like.
Oh, wow.
Me, she's taken on, so she's finished that. It's a Marvel film. And we're here for Thanksgiving. She gets like a 3-day turnaround. And me, I'll be here for, I think the total is like, what is that, 10 days or something? And then to Pittsburgh for another film. Back for Christmas, and there for another couple of months.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool because I get to meet a lot of characters. What's cool for me is the respect for skating.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the +1 dork, right? Like all these movie star guys. And then they're like, oh, wait, you're the
to them, he is. I know, to us, no. But to him, you just said you went to a party the other day.
Hold on, though. I live in those circles a little bit.
Right.
With obviously with actors, celebrities, stuff like that. So I know enough of them. There is this massive respect and reverence for you,
not for me,
not just for skateboarding.
Yeah.
And I get asked a lot, especially by non-skaters, like, what's Rodney Mullen like? Like, what about Rodney Mullen? I've seen that guy, I've seen his TED Talk, I've seen the tricks he created. And I was like, that's how he is.
Thank you. Well,
but to say you're just the dorky +1, slow down.
Well, it is the thing. Tony is the same. And kind of the same. Do you know Tony Hawk?
That's so weird.
So the respect for skating that I see, even from people who don't get it, right? From a distance, they lock on to it. They're like, whoa, what you guys do is different. It's creative. It's raw, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of these things that drive these higher end actors, at least I've been so fortunate to meet, the guys that you actually respect, like really respect. And you're like, wow, where are you pulling from to do that?
The intense ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, they connect with what we do as skateboarding, which makes me think, I think for all the crazy things that have happened to me in the last 15 years or something, 10 years, cycling, some of the TED stuff and Silicon Valley stuff that finally brought me to MIT at the Media Lab. What I really see there is, dude, there's no other community. And it gives you the parallax. You get to see it from the outside of like all we've known is skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when you see it from the outside, especially these really stratospheric levels of talented people, you're like, man, of all communities, skating. I am so grateful that my instincts or whatever drew me to skateboarding from the beginning led me right. Because now with this hindsight of here I am at this age, man, there's no community that's richer. Like, this is who I am as a skater,
Yeah.
And I really see that. So I guess my point is being around these guys, oh, how great to be an actor, whatever. It's like, nah, skateboard.
But it does translate to the other things you've been dabbling in terms of curiosity and discipline and evolution. And I know you've done a few. We did a speaking gig together.
Yeah, right. That was fun.
Right?
Simon,
Where was San Francisco?
IBM, yeah.
Yeah, so we did IBM.
In Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah. And he did a talk that it was unreal because I know you did that one TED Talk that kind of went viral. But then he had a different talk, and he was talking about collective evolution and how someone will create a skate trick, and then someone else will do that same trick but in a totally different way and make it look different. And then someone else will add to it. They'll add going backside or a big flip or doing a switch. And then we're all sort of building on our own past. And so there's this collective evolution. And I watched this audience who are all in the tech world go, man, if we just shared our technologies with each other, our advancements with each, instead of trying to keep it all proprietary and hold it to ourselves, we would go so much further with it.
Yeah.
And I watched that happen in real time, just listening to Rodney talk about creating skate tricks.
Right, but
but the way he explains it is inspiring. That's why.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
It's crazy.
All I know is it's
you got to back it up, and you have that, like when you talk about your passion and drive for things, and you have the thing, like the ability that you have from your passion and drive, like to say this is how you should go about it, and I've noticed this and I've noticed that, with no credibility, like to have the highest. Like I said, I don't know. I know a lot of athletes. You might be the most disciplined one out of all of us. Everybody.
Yeah, I'm not here at 1 a.m.
But you're here first thing.
I sometimes skate here alone.
Yeah.
But I know you. I know your drive, and I know your discipline is way off the charts, and always has been though. I mean,
Well-
but you skated alone in Florida.
Yeah, all those hours.
For-
But then it goes back, and I'm sure the same, although, you're in Australia, right? I mean,
Yeah.
during those early years. But so I wish I could speak to that. But what I am saying, Del Mar, when I would come down and hang
Mhm.
out, the contest, to me, it says so much. You would go, those are some of the best memories of hanging out with you and your family, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm down there doing my little thing on the flat in the ditch. And then I would come up and I'd see you guys flying around. And then all the buildup and all the practice. And then going out. I still remember going out with Billy Ruff and I was checking out, what was it, Fast Times or whatever we saw back then. And then the contest goes and you win the contest. And then to see you just go skating after the contest, right to it after all that stuff closed, there's just like trash, people throw their stuff. And then you don't go celebrate, you don't do anything. It's just, no, back to skating. And
But
to
that,
me,
I mean, but you too, that was when we would learn the most tricks.
yeah. I hear
Because
you.
we were unchained.
Yeah.
When we were competing, you had to do the stuff you knew you were going to make. It had to be consistent. It was kind of conservative. It wasn't that conservative.
but it had to be a little.
It had to be a little. You couldn't just go. And then when we were released from that, we'd be like, oh, now let's try some hard stuff
That's
that we
right.
can bail on.
That's right.
And I would always learn at least one or two tricks right after a contest.
I'm so with you because there's all the
Wow.
pressure of get ready for the
Yeah.
best in show,
Yeah.
And then you get to I'm sick of this.
Man, I would leave and go get drunk. That's probably why you're you and I'm me. After the contest, like, man, if I won or something, you fucking might not see me at the ramp for a week.
Or anywhere.
Yeah, I was doing a different thing at 5 a.m, Rodney. It wasn't helping my skateboarding, let's say that.
I love it, man.
But we were talking about, so Christian was here and we were talking about those contests when,
Christian,
and we were talking about the sort of disparity between freestylers and cool
Yeah,
skaters,
yeah.
which was obvious.
Yes, painful.
But there was a moment at every contest when they call your name, and I don't know if you were aware of it because you were probably hyper focused, but everyone stopped what they were doing. Even the coolest,
Yeah.
most hardcore,
I mean, Christian was the coolest and most
Daggers.
hardcore, and he told us that he
Yeah.
came over to watch your run.
yeah, would stop and watch Rodney skate, and then Rodney would skate, and everyone would go back to what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then like all the other freestylers would come out and, what happened? Where'd
Yeah.
you guys go?
Oh man,
It's similar to Matt Hoffman.
Matt Hoffman. Did you have Matt?
No.
No,
Oh.
not yet. We'll get him.
Oh,
Yeah.
talk about
But I saw him in
Noble.
91 in a contest because that was the first time they ever had BMXers and skateboarders at the same ramp for a contest. And I didn't know anybody in BMX. And it was cool. It was impressive. But he was a whole different person. I was like, okay, if there was 15 of him, I'd be fearful for our contest existing. Like, why bother having it
Why
when you
bother?
could have these guys do what he's doing?
Yeah.
But he was doing frontside and backside around the whole ramp, and everybody else, you could see that their favorite,
Right.
whatever side
Yeah.
was their favorite, that's what they were doing. And he was like, oh no, we're not that. We're everything. And then he did a 900 and landed it, and his spokes blew out, and he still rolled away. And I was
No
like,
way.
who?
Yeah,
Who
that was
is
the first
this
one.
guy?
That was the first one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
year was that?
It was I thought it was 91, but it might have been before. It might have been 90
Yeah, it was
because it was
something around
before Munster, and that's the first time I did well in a contest.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so,
So-
it might have been 90.
then. I got to see Rodney skate the first time you came to California, Oasis.
Oh yeah.
Right? That was the first
that
trip,
was my
right?
first. I went as an amateur the year before, and but this was the first one like where I was like, wow, the real pros. That was
Yeah.
so intimidating for me. It was crazy. Yeah.
So he's the
Yeah.
little kid for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
well, you
How
were
old?
probably
Super.
14.
I
Maybe
just turned
13.
14, 3 days.
Okay. So
Did you
he's
move
there.
here, or did you just
No.
get yourself down here?
just flew out. I thought that was my last contest. All this drama. I'm this pigeon-toed little kid, all pads. Oh, the only like dork with pads on, like
Full
elbow
pads,
pads,
wrist guards.
everything, helmet, and I had a southern drawl back then, and so people like say, "What'd he say?" And so that was anyway. That
I
was
know what
the
that's like.
oddball at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
But so and Oasis was my home park. So I was
Yeah.
at this event
Okay.
and it was like, oh, you guys see this kid from Florida. Da, da, da,
So
you know, and-
skateboarding's talking about him when he gets here. Everyone knows who he is.
Yeah, well, once he showed up, once he started skating, so every skate park then had a reservoir.
Yeah.
Which
What
was
he called the ditch?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically a big flat area with banks all around it.
Yeah.
And that was also known as the freestyle area.
That's
right. And so at Oasis, there was freestyle area was way down below in the corner.
Yep.
And so he's skating. And I remember there was this buzz happening. And for sure in that era and at my age, I didn't care about the freestylers.
I bet.
Right.
I was skating the pools and hoping that Eddie Alguera was watching, or Dave Andrecht, or Steve Olson. Like anyone was even glancing an eye at me, right? And then there was all this buzz, so I went over and watched him skate and watched him do this flawless run. Never put his foot down. Everyone bails at least once. I mean, no one did a perfect freestyle run ever.
It's like this beginning of street skating when nobody could make a full run, and now
that's very similar.
everybody just.
So he does every single thing, and the whole place is stunned. It's like, what just happened? And it was old school. I'll never forget this old school scoreboard.
Yeah.
You know, like old school, like you would see it at an old basketball game, right?
Yeah.
And it only goes to 99. It doesn't go to 100. And then it just flashes 99. Because they couldn't give him 100.
I can't believe you still remember that, man. That's crazy. Yeah.
And then the contest is over and he leaves, and that 99 remained on the scoreboard the whole day because everyone was so freaked out.
So you're 14 and you win easily.
He gets a perfect score.
And then and then you go home? Like, hey, that was fun. Bye.
That's so without drama. It's just to say that I was told I had to give up skating when I got back home.
Your parents?
This was a last fling, quote unquote.
Oh, wow. You were going down there to do your last skateboard, anything.
That was it. And Barry's a rich kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. He stood up for, I remember this, again, bunch of drama. And so I was always supposed to quit. And he's like, Rodney, you can be the best in the world with me here at the contest. Think back then. Like, this was 1981, right? And
81,
like,
yeah.
For whatever, as goofy as that sounds, the best. You can be the best, and just tell your parents, I'll sell my furniture, because Barry had nothing. I'll sell my furniture. It's wrong to lie to your parents, but like he would take me, weekend stuff, do demos, right? South Florida, whatever. And just tell them we're going down there. You fly out, you at least, and then you give up, because at least you'll know. And that, I got to say, as the years pass on, right, that's decades ago. And you think, what contests you actually remember,
Yeah.
Like they're a blur. And that's the one, I think, even meeting Stacy Peralta, who is known to be the dude that coached you, right? He had all the winning. Right?
Mm-hmm. Bring us to pasta the night before the contest.
All of the rituals.
Get your cops.
That's all the stuff I heard about. And, it's bigger than life. And you get there, you meet him, you're like, wow, that's Stacy Peralta. He comes to you, tries to coach you, comes over to me, he's like, hey, man, you seem to be doing your own thing. Just let me know if you need anything. I'm like, right on. Because Barry had got me through that. And I remember, he's always telling me, Barry's whole thing was, have eye contact with the judges. Again, just this is Barry's mind.
Barry.
Yeah, Barry.
I love that guy. It's just so awesome to know that he helped Rodney Mullen. People don't know Barry for things like that, but that's legendary.
He's crazy kind of hippie at the time, the way people look at him, but there was a bit of genius in there the whole way through. Yeah. And that heart of his. And somehow it worked out where Stacy called my house, I got to go. So I flew out for the weekend. It was all kind of legal in the sense my folks knew. And go out. I remember right before my run, I was like, man, 540 shove. That's one of the hardest tricks at the time. My board spins like a lawnmower blade. And I remember just staring at the judges when I did that trick and then feeling it connect. That feeling when you're connecting?
Wait, you were looking eye contact in it.
Yeah. And to me, that's the thing, because I did it for Barry. Is like, whether I win or not, do the best you can do. And do this for Barry. And I remember, when I remember feeling that, it's like when you land something, you're feeling the tug, right? Because you don't know what's going on, right? Just that instant. And I felt that little
I'm usually
tug.
looking at my board, Rodney, but...
And I remember feeling that tug where you got the rest of your run. And if you made that, you made your run and you probably won, right? And I remember feeling that tug staring at the judges. And I remember man, did that for Barry. And that's what mattered. So when you ask, Stacy didn't know. I didn't know I was on the Bones Brigade because I was on Flow.
Flow.
And
Like that was the thing.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a thing, but that's what we experienced.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I remember going back, we drove back to LA. Next day, I'm flying out of LAX. As far as I know, that's it for me. I made like a shrine. I put my ticket in the shrine at home. He gave me a patch. He's like, I was like, I'm really on the Bones Brigade. And he's like, he started laughing.
Oh, Bones Brigade patch.
Yeah,
The yellow one. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
He gave me that patch.
Oh, there's an official you're on the team patch.
Yeah, and you're supposed to put it on your clothes, your jacket. If they give you a jacket,
That's right.
you're even like
sick.
more in. Yeah.
That's what that was. So basically, I went in, I took it. I didn't want to say, I'm not going to be skating anymore. But I just made a little shrine at home, gave up skating for like 2 weeks. By the time it seems like big time back then, like, they're calling long distance, right? I got this interview from some local rag, which was really just a zine. And by them calling from, across the country back then, he's like, wow, well, I guess you can't stop then. Stop now. So I got to keep
You
skating.
said that or your parents did?
My parents did. My dad. So
What
I got to
was
keep skating.
the original, why were your parents so against you skateboarding?
Just the thought. And that was the whole thing, I guess, transitioning, jumping forward to TED stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you grow up, you do this, you're going to turn into a bum.
Okay.
And so get out of there. And yeah.
But also, you told me that on that first con, it was like, all right, you conquered this little goofy sport.
Yeah.
On to the next thing.
That's right. That's right. The more you won, I'm curious about, like, the more you won, in his eyes, it would only certify, because you're competing against bums. So whatever. All I mean to finish that sentence, you are the thought that by the time I come back to do TED stuff, one of the things that drove me is, you get older and I skate for my piece at night, but dude, I'm not what I was, obviously. And step behind, be cool, don't rot in public. And so doing the TED stuff, that just happened out of nowhere, more or less. And I remember thinking, you know what, man, I'm getting to tell all these like highly educated, like, we have respect for TED, that, hey, this is the way we do it. And you're listening. And that to me is like anything but a bum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of driven me lately. So it's kind of cool.
I can't believe I can say I can relate to that, but Australia's behind. So when I told my parents a divorce and I made them meet me at a pub and I told them that I was going to be a professional skateboarder, and they were like, that's not a job. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, it's Bones Brigade. You don't even know. There's these guys, Lance Mountain, Tony Hawk, like, that's their job. I'm positive of it. Like, that's their job. And he's like, maybe it looks like that in the video you watch, but trust me, these kids are getting a job.
Yeah.
And my dad believed me. And when he didn't, because it turned out many years later, a check came to my house.
Wow.
And he opened it and he goes, what's this for? And I go, what's it say on it? And it was funny. Another coincidence. It's Bones Brigade. I was on PAL in my heyday. And it said, PAL on it. And I go, yeah, that's my board payment every month. And he goes, every month they give you this? And I go, yeah. He goes, you should take this shit serious. I've been pro for like 8 years. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I go, what do you think I was doing? He's like, I thought you were selling drugs. And I was, it fucking really hurt. Like, I was like,
yeah,
I don't even.
That's
I've never sold drugs in my life. What are you talking about, Dad? Like,
that's quite a ruse you were pulling. That you were a skater traveling the world, son.
Like, he knew I skateboarded, but I think he thought that I was like making money to go back by selling weed or so. I don't know what it was, but he could not.
How do you make money doing this?
Yeah.
How does it actually generate a viable income?
He had no idea. Yeah. And he took me to he'd seen contests, but I think like maybe a demo way later, like I think it was a Chris Miller, Christian Osoy came to my town. Wow. I did a demo with them and they came and they were like, oh, wow. I didn't know you were like as good as they were. And that's their job. And I'm like, yeah, that's their fucking job. Yeah, that's what we're all doing here. But I remember they didn't know. They didn't know that we could be.
They saw you do a demo too?
Yeah, that was the one where, because they saw me at a contest with him where I have video of it where
he's a little kid.
Really?
Yeah. And because you could pay $16 to be in the contest, my dad paid and I got in the contest. But because I was late, I was in the fourth heat and they were in the fourth heat. So I didn't even care if I made a ride. I was just on the deck going,
I'm next to Tony Hawk.
yeah, no, there's video of me going, because I'm like, it's him.
Yeah.
He's right next to me, you guys. Like, I don't know what I did in my ride. I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But then the next time was probably 7 years later where I could do 10-foot airs. And we were at a demo where Miller and Christian were doing 10-foot airs, and so was I. And they were like, oh, and I remember thinking, you guys suck a little bit. To know now is kind of a little bit of a bullshit. Because there was magazines, there was videos, like, but I
Did your parents ever go to demos or contests?
Wow, that's a really good question.
You know, my mom took me around in those early days.
Before you were gonna quit or after? When
you know, that was like a kind of a saga, but that one was very, very like, that was a big deal, that one coming to California, because that was definitely the last
that
place.
Angle that you're gonna be a bum, and then you're doing it, and you're winning events and eventually making money.
Yeah,
Did they ever turn that?
My mom
narrative?
was always cool. It was really my dad, and so my mom saw me at contests, like even the longer ones, like go up to Georgia, again being in Florida, and she saw like how quickly advanced. You know, you experienced the same thing, right? And she knew what was going on. My dad, again, you know, definitely didn't pass that way, so I don't recall him ever checking things out. What I will say, you know, in hindsight, going, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but you know how people approach you just on the street sometimes? And he came out here later after my mom passed and everything. And, you know, because we didn't really communicate a lot for a lot of years. And when he came out, and I remember we were walking and people, I remember just driving on the 405 up, showed him, you know, like Coronado, we went down there. And driving on the way up, somebody recognized me like literally driving. Like, ooh, you know what I mean? When people out the window. And then we pulled off somebody else recognized. And I remember seeing it in his eyes of like, it connecting a little bit.
Yeah.
And then later on, you know what I mean? Maybe this happened to you where you're like, you know, Rod, could you sign a few stickers? You know what I mean? So they can pass out.
Yeah.
And at that stage, you're like, you know, like no matter what, whatever problems you want, it's in you. Like you want to make your parents proud.
Right.
And that was cool for me, you know?
Mine was Pink is my friend. That was the first time my dad was like, Pink's your friend.
No, really?
She's huge in Australia. And he's like, and then I remember him telling people, yeah, Jay's friends with Pink. And I overheard it, and I was like, I've made it.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I was like, I made it. Yeah. Pink, Jay, knows her.
That's awesome, man.
And then all his friends going, bullshit. Nah, he does. Yeah. Got a photo, Jay? You know. That was awesome. I was so stoked. It's funny to know they actually hooked him up one time. She went to Australia. It was right after my father passed away. And man, it's pretty tough. But I got her in there, and Alicia's such a nice person that when she met, Pink took her aside and like talked to her about her loss, and like, you know, really, really nice, like VIP booth, like had a really long conversation just to my stepmother and Pink.
Wow.
So that was definitely a good look for me.
Man,
like afterwards, they were like, wow, and she took us over and she took photos. I think my brother passed away too, and was like all in about the same year or two.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like one of those things where I think my stepmom really wanted to have a good time for a fucking second in her life because she'd had a bad run. And just to know how cool Pink was, like I didn't know, I didn't tell her. You know, I was like, hey, can I get tickets for my stepmom? And she know, because Carrie Hart's my friend, so Carrie Hart obviously told Alicia, like, Jason's been through some shit lately and his family's definitely, but just to know that it was above and beyond. Like, I'm friends with Alicia, but we're not, you know, she doesn't text me on a regular, but she sure as hell made it look like that. Yeah, like he made me look.
Man, what a classic.
She's
good
awesome.
person.
Such a kind-hearted person and such a non-bullshit artist for her being such a famous person. Like, she's more reality-based than me on my best day. She makes me feel like a bit of a poser sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because she's like, what the fuck is your problem? You know, I'm like, fucking, and I'm like, oh my God, who are you?
That's awesome.
You're just a dude almost. Like, you're just tough. You know, I meet her and she skates.
No, I had no idea.
She went to Woodward. Before she was a pop star, she was contemplating being a professional skateboarder, and she went to Woodward.
She used to go to
So
Woodward.
she's
skate
legit.
on
camp.
the regular.
Like,
yeah, dude.
yeah.
We did a TV show, and because Carrie's my friend, my first guest on my TV show was Jason Ellis. My Job Sucks, and she was a
That's
guest,
awesome.
and she's like, "We're going to a skate park," and I was like, "Why?" Because we're going to skate. Because that's how she is. Like, we're
Yeah.
going to skate. And I'm like, "Okay, good," and then she's shredding the skate park. And she went up a quarter pipe and did a rock to fakie. I will never forget this. Like, I sang a song about it to her like 10 years later because
Wow.
it was uncomfortable. Kerry can't skate. He's a moto dude.
Yeah.
He's over there farting around,
Yeah.
doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, you suck. And then I see her go up quarter pipe, and it's like a 5-foot quarter pipe. Rocked a fakie, clipped her front wheels on the way in, and fell all the way back to the pavement and had the battery pack for the microphone because she was mic'd up.
Oh,
the
yeah.
worst.
So she landed on the mic, and it was one of those ones where I didn't know her that well, and she's pink, and she ate shit so hard that I went,
Yeah.
I don't want to
It's
see that I don't want her to see that I saw it.
Yeah.
And then I look back, and she's up skating, like she didn't say anything, and I was like, my God, Carrie Hart, your chick is fucking awesome, dude.
No kidding.
I was so pumped on her. Ever since that day, I was like, that chick, she's all right with me. Carrie, no, didn't make a shit of a difference, but
Dude, that's so awesome. to
everything
hear.
she does is, yeah, I'm such a fan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, stoked for her. So she's a skateboarder.
Yeah.
I feel like that helps like you were saying, the
Yeah.
skateboard, to be a skateboarder, what it takes.
Yep.
If you can direct that
Yep.
anywhere,
Yep.
you can make a lot happen.
Yep. I'm with you.
I am curious, Rodney. You're talking about how you talking about celebrities remind me because you did Walter Mitty,
Yeah, Ben.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
And did you see that?
Yep.
Where he's
Yep.
the stunt double for Ben Stiller.
Yep.
And I know that you're very private about your skating.
Yeah.
And especially these days,
Yeah.
You just put it so eloquently earlier. I don't remember. I don't want to rot in public. Is that what
Yeah.
he said?
Yeah.
Don't want to rot in public. But then you chose to do stunt work on a film.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious, how does that connect?
How did that connect? How did it happen? Or what? You know what?
Well, for one, like I just wouldn't think of you wanting to do that.
To do that.
Yeah.
It's a great. All right. So yeah, story. Then, so Ben Harper, his friend, legit skater and
Yes.
heart of gold. So we're tight, and the way Ben is, the protocol, right? You never give other people's numbers out. Always ask permission, right? And so Ben, like that heart of his, he's like, Rod, a good friend of mine is here. May I give him your number? And I'm like, any friend of yours? And later on, I get a text from Ben Stiller. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And he's like, hey, I'm interested in doing this movie, basic intro. And in my heart, I'm like, just what you
So
said.
he already had you in mind
Yeah,
to do, like,
That's right.
no matter what.
that's right. He did.
Okay, understood.
And so
I want to know that you went to a casting call and you had to try out
Oh,
Yeah, I
no,
don't
I tried
think
to
so.
talk him out of it.
one-handed handstand.
Wait, when he asked you, you
Yeah,
tried to
I
talk
tried
about
to talk him out of it.
No,
Yeah, fully.
that's
And-
what I imagined when
Yeah.
he did it. I was like, how did they rope Rodney into
Oh
that?
my goodness. So I'm like, man, I'm uncomfortable with this. Like I can do my, a few things, right? But I'm like, hey, what a pleasure to meet you, text him back. And I look forward to catching up and hearing more about it. Leave it at that. I mean, I'm not going to pester the dude. And so I didn't.
But
hear-
you didn't say no.
No, I didn't say no. So I'm looking, I'm obviously
Mhm.
open-minded. So I end up, that's in this weird phase of me. Like, I don't even know how I end up at TED, crazy stories. And so I'm actually at TED in Long Beach and not TEDx because they make a big deal like this TED. So, all right, man, I'm at TED. They have all these after parties. Like it's very much,
It's a scene. Illuminati.
yeah, well put.
Wow. It's okay. So anyway.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I could go on.
Holy
So
shit.
I'm at one of those rooftop parties around a pool and all this
Where
weird.
it's too much.
It's
When
too
I say
much,
Illuminati,
man.
it's just like too much. It's just everyone's a
Dude.
celebrity, and then you're like, what am I doing here? What's going on?
And the protocol and the stuff. So I'm on some rooftop in Long Beach. I love Long Beach, man, because the skate stuff. And I'm tripping out because Long Beach, you're always looking for spots. Going there, Long Beach can be sketchy. And so I'm just thinking that here I am in this hoity-toity party with all these crazy intellectuals around this pool. and my phone rings. I just happened to look down. It's Ben Stiller calling. And I'm like, whoa, because I'm so out of my, like, what am I even doing here at this place? Right?
Yeah.
Ted. And I like to hang. I want to try because why not? You know what I mean? Live life. Like, you're here. Why not?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, trying to do my best because Ben Stiller's calling me. So I'm like, hey, how are you? You know, what do you say to Ben Stiller? And then he's cool. But what I realize, he's kind of like the way he does movies, but, you know, he amplifies that. So it's not super smooth, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, great to meet you. Hey, you know, a little bit awkward. So I sense that, which makes me feel immediately more home, right? And I'm like, hey, man, it's so great. So we're, you know, you're friends with Ben. How long? Goes with like, so I'm just like yapping with Ben. And then it finally, 5 minutes of that, my phone clips out bad reception. I'm like, oh, shit. You know that feeling?
Mm.
And I hear him. I can't hear, but we're still connected. It picks up. He's still telling a story. So I'm just going with it. And I'm like, oh, great. So
how vivid this is to you.
Yeah, it is super vivid. And he's like, so I'm doing this movie. And I'm like, oh, starting to get uncomfortable because now I'm going to have to be like, I'm like 80%. I'm honored. I'd love to do it. I know it'd be a cool experience, but this is not for me. So look, Ben, I'm best served. The right thing is to give you somebody better. There's a lot of better people. And so tell me what you want, and I'm happy to point you to that person. And if it is something that I can do, of course I'd be honored to do it. But my role here is to serve you best so you can have the coolest movie, right? And he's like, and I sensed almost of like, shoot, you know, in him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, we're kind of the same build, about the same age. It would be smooth. And
he hadn't presented it as a stunt double before that?
He did, but, you know, it depends. Like, does he want me to do something you do, right? Does he want me to skate on a transition? Like, no, I know, like, right, you know, let me send you to Tony or somebody about you.
But he was asking for you. He knows who he's talking to.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you. So I'm like, but I'm doing my, I don't say best.
You're doing your best to get out of it.
I'm giving it a hearty try to get out of it. and he's like, well, it's going to be in Central Park, and I just need you to do a couple of flat ground tricks, and you'll be slightly, right? So in that case, my heart was like, you know what, man? I think I can actually do that. I think I can do that better than most people you would ask. Yeah, man, if you want to do
couple
this.
flat ground tricks.
Yeah, a couple of flat ground tricks.
Now you're a good guy for that.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, I'm in. So he seems super stoked. He's like, I'll get you in touch with stunt people next. So next thing I know, I have the stunt coordinator I had to get to look like Ben. So they sent me to an Academy Award nominee. I'm not sure if he was a winner, but at that stage, come on, man, splitting hairs. And to get his nose.
Oh,
and,
wow.
So I go up to this crazy place, and this guy, like, oh my goodness, that whole experience. And I'm thinking, this is another world of professional people.
Yeah.
I remember taking pictures. Like, all this dude does is make people's faces. He's a sculptor on this Japanese dude. And I was so excited just to talk to him about what he does. And so, yeah, so they made
Is that a tedious thing?
Yeah, dude. The first thing he does is like, I thought it was just going to be, I don't know, I'm naive, right? I thought it'd be something along like, we've all done a few shows and had people give you makeup, right? As awkward as it is, yeah, we've experienced that. But in this case, his first question is like, are you claustrophobic?
They're going to put a mask on you.
It's like, no, not a mask. They have to put your whole head in plaster.
And
like,
you got to work straws in your nose,
exactly.
right?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So hence the, right, will you panic? And I'm like, so I'm like, in for a penny. So I'm like, no, man, I'm good. So the whole experience, I'm lapping it up. I basically jump in it because I don't want to draw this out, but I go to New York, fly to New York, which is crazy to me. They pick me up, the whole limo thing, right? I get to New York. I hadn't slept because I was coming off a tour, right? And so I'm up, like wired, like can't even believe this is happening, right? So they're taking me directly to middle of, like, by Time Life building. Remember that, some of the last shots?
You're going straight to the set from the flight?
Yeah, straight from the set, not to skate, but to get outfitted, right?
Okay.
Clothes and stuff. And so they take me, like they call them carnies because there's all these trailers.
Is your face on The fake face, is that on right now when you're getting fitted, or is that?
No.
Oh,
he's gonna go-
And
he's gonna go-
basically, all it was a nose. It wasn't like a whole like.
But they had to
get
put
it.
that whole thing on just to get the nose.
That's right. I guess context, like whatever the case, it was. My point is, I never saw that nose in the end because they just put me out of focus. So I go in for that. They give me shoes, and I'm like, my goodness, they give me like leather shoes.
Oh,
Like business dude shoes, because he's a business dude.
yeah.
And
Say something.
And so I'm
problem.
like, and that stage, a skater in me called skater in me. I'm like, I don't care who this is from. You could have picked anybody off the street because you have reduced me to that because I'm going to suck as bad as basically anybody.
Wow.
And if you have me skating these shoes, please give me regular shoes. They're getting irritated for me. I'm already irritated with them. I had a silver tooth at the time. And they're all like trying to like, what are we going to do with this tooth? And you know what I mean?
He's a troublemaker.
Yeah, well, I would, but come on, right? You're there.
You're
at
like
that stage,
skate diva.
I
Aren't
wanna
you
be-
Rodney Mullen? Can't you skate with like high heel shoes on? Like they just
Exactly.
think like how big of a deal is it to have some business leather shoes
leather
on and skate
heels. Yeah.
with a little heel thing in the back?
Yeah.
Get nuts.
So
No.
I'm like, man, I'm gonna suck. So anyway, jumping to probably the coolest part is they're like irritated with me already. Because their whole job is like, I need to hook you up. You got to look like a picture, right?
Yeah.
And so, all right, I screwed that up. And so I'm thinking, okay, we might be able to spray paint tennis shoes, whatever. I'm tripping out like, wow, next morning I get to meet Stiller. I get to go on set, like do this stuff. I'm like, you know what? Been through contests. I'm not intimidated, but I'm just kind of excited of like, this is crazy. So early in the morning, they're taking me. I am hyped because I'm not an actor. I don't relate to these people. I don't relate to any of this stuff. But Central Park, I'm going, we've all been in Central Park a lot of times, skate in Central Park, right? So I remember there's like a little, you have to walk uphill. He's about 100 yards away. And as you're walking toward each other, there's like an increase in height of the walk. So I can only see like his head.
Yeah.
And as you're walking closer, more and more of him is, you're starting to see each other like whole. And when I see his face, like Ben Stiller, he's got this big smile, like he's just stoked to meet you, And I'm like, dude, because I don't know how he's going to treat me.
Yeah.
Immediately gives you a hug. He's excited to meet you. I'm just excited. Jumping to when I skate, I remember he's like, hey, look, can you do a kickflip? I'm like, kickflip, You want a kickflip? You brought me all this way to do a kickflip?
Right? You could have got me there for that. Would have taken an hour, but I would have done it.
Could have taught you to do a kickflip. and he's like, yeah, just a kickflip, but then you can do what you want after that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, right on. So this is the guy.
Did you get your shoes?
Nah, yeah, I got my real shoes.
Okay, good.
So I'm good at that stage. So I remember all these characters, the stuntmen were cool. And they're the ones you relate to, again, because that's a different culture.
I know, right? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Whenever you're on movies, the guys that end up being the conversation people are the stunt guys.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that connect.
I know,
It's
right?
the same sort of thing. And not even what so cameras go on, and at first they're trying to direct you, like do this, do that. And I was like, look, man, I'm best serving you if you just let me do something, kind of let me,
Yeah.
And at that stage, I remember because there's all these directors. You don't know which one to look at, There's like a script supervisor. There's like 3 or 4 people, and I don't know who to look at. So I'm like, please, just let me, Ben, could I just, I think I got this. You need me to kind of hit these notes? Let me do this? And I remember him kind of stepping back, like, you do that. And at that stage, I felt free. So I just did a couple tricks, whatever, that I knew how the flow would be. And I remember doing that in a couple of tries. You get it. And at the very end, he just says at the end of the day, you probably experienced this, maybe something like, because I know you guys are doing this stuff, but they get everyone around and he comes out and he says, we want to thank you for showing up. Yeah. And they all kind of applaud. I remember like, man, check that off. Ben Stiller's thanking you. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of cool. Anyway.
Did you,
ladies and gentlemen, Rodney Mullen is wrapped.
Yeah, that's what it was like. We want to thank you for. Right?
Did you fall?
Of course I felt like, but it wasn't, dude, I was doing it in one hand, handstand flip and a half cab impossible. You know what I mean? It's like they can do that in your sleep. And so I remember like I came off once and I was like, no, please let me do this. And because they wanted to make it easier,
Oh, okay. And you were like, no, I'm doing.
Please trust me. The way this flows.
Yeah, those conversations always suck.
You can imagine, right? Can you do a kickflip? You know?
Well, but just that you're like, no, but I'm gonna do something else, and then a couple of tries go by, and they're like, all right, let's just wrap this up. And, no, you guys, this is why you got me here.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna see it through.
Yeah.
We're not making a skate video.
Yeah.
This is a little bit harder, but I'm gonna make one. It's gonna be okay.
Meanwhile, it'll take them sometimes like 15 tries for just dialogue. I don't say just dialogue,
or
you know
or
what I mean?
even or the angle for it where they're blowing it the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like a lot of them ask for something and they don't know how to capture it, and they still want to be the director of this one bit where, like you said,
I think you're on.
I think Ben's a smart director and was like, oh, I definitely think we should let Rodney do his line.
And when you see the scene, it's a wide shot, so they gave you a lot of freedom to just do
for sure.
whatever.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I just thought it was fascinating because I remember seeing the movie. I didn't even know you did it.
Yeah.
And I loved the movie. And then I look and they're skating, and I was like, that's Rodney.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, right?
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, no one told me
But,
either. I'm like,
Rodney,
hey, I know those legs.
Rodney Mullen is in a movie. Like, I asked Rodney to do a kickflip when we started Shred or Die, which was
that's right.
15 years ago now.
Yeah, man, that's right.
I asked him to do a kickflip as a trick tip, and he's just like, not gonna be. It's like, I don't want to be seen in public. I don't want to do it. It's like, just do one. Just kickflip for it like a trick tip. It's like, no.
It's not good enough for you, Tony.
What's that?
It's not good enough for you. Yeah.
You weren't gonna do anything though.
Yeah. I'd be like,
I mean, it's fine. I get it. You're Ben Stiller's son. It's okay. It's like, we're past it, Rodney. It's all right. I don't hold it against you. Do you remember you did that? We went to that, whatever that TV show was, Fuel TV, and you did that Impossible on the like saucer board they had. Do you remember that?
Man, I have to think about that.
They had that Fuel TV. It was like the Daily Habit.
Yeah.
That show.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. You and I were doing it.
Partain.
And I was trying to get, so that's right when,
you.
that's right when we started Shred or Die, which became Ride Channel.
Huh.
But we were not on YouTube yet.
Yeah.
And so we were just trying to get content. And I saw you there and I was like, oh, Rodney, do it like a trick tip. And you're just like, I don't want to. And then there was this weird like skim board with trucks and wheels on it, but super small on set.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'll do something on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
And then the third one is going to be Lance.
Oh!
Yeah. And then you can talk.
Okay, Rodney, now give us a trick tip for the impossible on deli tray. This is the trick tip.
It's all on the board.
Is it better to have no grip tape?
Always better.
Always better, no grip tape. And the least amount of nose or tail?
Yeah.
And these wheels particularly.
Yeah? Is that the future of freestyle? Or street skating?
It's a big cycle. It's coming back to this.
Why don't we just do 3 and do this one?
All right, thanks for letting us in on the future, Rodney.
And then he did an impossible on this ridiculous board.
Yeah.
First try. And I was like, so what's the trick tip? And he's like, I don't know, find a saucer board. Do it like this.
Tony, look, I got to say from my perspective, like all the time we spent, all those early years. And then when I started seeing you like everywhere.
Like everywhere, you didn't want to.
No, that's not true. Like I remember it was like after Academy Awards or whatever, not that you watch, but you're like, yeah, you pay attention afterwards, like who won what. And then you pop up like in some after party, like with all these movie stars. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Look at Tony. And you're like, yeah, do it for, you know what I mean? For us. And I remember you were doing all that stuff. And I was just always so stoked that you would bring us along into the things that you did at that level. That's how I always felt, Tony.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, that's what I hope to project when I'm doing that stuff for sure. Because I want to represent it well.
So gracious, man. The way you bring even Bones Brigade stuff after that, like you would continuously bring us together, like the whole end of Chin Ramp. How fun was that?
Yeah.
And seeing everyone, all that, and then dinner with Stacy that night, seeing everyone, like I was getting such a charge out of that.
That was crazy.
And that's because
we all went to Woodward because they rebuilt the Chin Ramp.
Oh, the recent run.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Grant shooting the same shots, like.
Yeah, with Grant shooting the 4 inverts, but Rodney came out and Tommy was there too. I mean,
shit!
It was all of us. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. Actually, that's I'm not gonna give it away, but that's a big moment in the documentary that Sam Jones made about my career.
Dude, when is that coming
out? Next year sometime.
Next year?
Yeah, HBO. Well, I know HBO got it, but you are
HBO got it?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
You didn't That's awesome.
Yeah, I used to be able to bottom.
That's
crazy.
insane.
It's crazy. Yeah.
They do like the best documentaries too. Like,
I mean, you know,
I
for
guess
me,
they buy the
it's
best documentary.
I think it's really well done. It's weird for me because it's such a personal story and it's very emotional. But I think it kind of transcends skating and what we do, and there's a different message there. But you play such a big part of it.
Oh, thank you.
And
Such a good
that
dude.
whole event is part of the storyline of us going there for the chin
Oh,
reunion.
yeah?
That's I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna give it away. But
Have you seen it all put together? Cut together?
I saw where the first rough cut, but now it's changed a bit, and I haven't seen it because
Is
I'm not directing the narrative. You know what I mean?
I hear you. It's a little bit like Stacy did with us in the Bones Brigade.
Yes.
You're like, you don't know what the heck is going on.
You don't know
just show
how
up.
it's gonna end up. But
it's nerve-wracking.
I the reason that I agreed to do it with him because I trust him.
Yeah.
Because I think his work is amazing.
He's so solid.
But the documentary is called "Until the Wheels Fall Off," and that's your quote.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's your quote in the movie.
Man,
So you named it. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. That's crazy.
Tell me about this wetboard.
Oh,
You didn't.
yeah.
You didn't.
So
I need to know.
I'll give us some
Come on,
context.
man.
He was
That's awesome.
Fucking wetboard.
so his fiance was working on a movie,
Okay.
and then he was in England for 5 months.
Mhm.
That's the setup.
And I know England. It rains
It rains.
a lot.
A lot.
Melbourne is a little bit similar.
Right.
And there's a total season where if there's no indoor facility, you're not really skateboarding very much. The squeegee, everybody had squeegees in their backpacks.
Yeah,
'cause
right.
We had metal ramps and we'd squeegee the metal ramp and then we'd
no
skate for
way.
10 minutes and then it would rain again. Like that's how we ran the game. But to know that, you know, your late night sessions that you do by yourself and then you live in a place where I know that place rains all the fucking time. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's summer.
Yeah.
That place rains.
Yeah.
You skate in the rain.
Yeah, it pretty much determined. So I just got to go back real fast. I can't not that I've skated a few ramps. And I remember the first time I fell on a metal ramp because I never skated metal ramps.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I took a good hit. I was like, holy crap, metal is hard. Like it just shakes your teeth. And water on a metal ramp, that sounds like death.
No,
It's deadly.
Yeah.
Start making tracks.
And when
it's
people
over.
say,
Yeah.
see,
can't even
it's the worst.
imagine
in
how many
Melbourne,
times
when
you
people
whip out-
yelled tracks, you were
Yeah.
getting tight butthole. I'd be in the air and I'd hear tracks and I'd be like, is it really worth it, Jason? You know what I mean? I'd be like, just one more. You know what I mean?
And
Get out.
while I'm in the air, it's only getting worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's another 2
You made
seconds
tracks
of
going
rain.
up.
Yeah.
And now it's got
And
worse.
it's that much
Yeah.
worse when you
Now
come
you're
down.
skimming.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned how to do some pretty
Insane.
sensitive skateboarding back in those days where you no turning. Straight.
Oh,
So you
I
devoted?
bet.
Are you saying you devoted a skateboard to the rain?
Yeah, I had to. So it just,
What's the difference? It's a
Yeah.
soggy board or is it?
oh yeah.
You spray
it's
it with something?
You know, it starts to weigh and you know what I mean? Everything about it changes, but you know, grip tape and everything. But after it rains the first couple days and you're getting kind of precious about, you know, at first like, oh, it's raining and I don't want to get wet. And you're like, you know what, man? Just succumb to it and be out there. Just let it go. Everything's soggy. It's ridiculous. And you're like, then it's kind of fun. You're laughing at yourself. And you're like, all right.
Do you have,
all right,
do you have a
I can do
jacket
this.
on?
What are the tricks?
No, I know it sounds ridiculous, but everything starts to weigh, you know, the shirt a lot, and then it starts getting, so you take off your shirt, and you're just in a parking lot. No one's out.
Has anyone wandered by
Oh, for sure. You're like,
to see Rodney Mullen
This guy is
skating in the rain,
So you're just
soaking?
skating in the rain like that.
What
like,
tricks are you doing?
Just basic stuff. You know what I mean?
What's basic
Yeah.
to you?
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
you know?
do it. Come on. People are listening. Give us a couple.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because you know how amused you get because you can laugh at yourself how ridiculous you are. It's like half cab impossible, or just like 360 flips or whatever. And like the funniest things, just like little kickflip to primo stuff or kickflip to. And
You're doing
so
kickflip to primo in the rain.
Well, it's not like you don't have anything to slide, but after a while you can't. You know what I mean? You don't have so. You're just testing yourself. It becomes ridiculous because how much you slide when you hit the.
Oh, you
how
mean
wet
when you
your
actually
board.
land on the
Yeah,
rail?
because everything is extra slippy, and when the board doesn't quite, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it becomes kind of amusing to yourself, you know?
Kickflip to like
You
to
know
primo.
what I mean? It's not I
Like
mean,
and then
come on,
slide.
imagine you guys just
You
doing
come
like-
on, you
like-
come on. Don't
Yeah.
come on me saying I kickflip primos. You're out of your fucking mind. We could be here for the rest of my life on no dead dry or whatever. no primo from me ever. Stop acting like it's very easy.
So one of those things. So the board starts picking up all this wet, and it's all dinged up, and so it starts soaking in like a sponge. So rail flip to Casper or whatever. When you flick it, and you start to see it spray like that.
That's sick.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then you just start laughing to yourself. It becomes fun, but that's that board just gets heavy and squeaks and everything about it sucks. But there's something about it that's so amusing. Like what I trip out because here I am at this age and I'm walking on the streets, double-decker buses. Like, come on, man, going back to London. Like, that's one of the first places you probably went, first place I went. You're like 15 or something. And what about you? It was like one of the first places you went to, or?
First place I came was America.
There you go.
But once we did a tour, yeah, sure.
Probably has the same magical quality. I mean, I'm coming from Florida, so LA has a magical quality still.
Okay.
And
I mean, it's definitely, you feel that it's another country, that's for sure, right? I get that.
But it's also a place that represents a kind of dream,
Okay.
And like, I'm still that kid off the farm, like no matter what. And so I'm there in London. I'm this old. I'm walking around the streets, and you know what it's like for you, especially you're crazy. Like, people like, hey, are you, and people generally, especially over there is a little bit more, I don't want to say, they're a little calmer in how they approach you sometimes, like, excuse me,
Yeah.
like, instead of like, what the fuck, what I mean? They're like, hey, excuse me, or people, and you trip out because you're like, man, I've lived this life where it's given you so much more than you could ever dream for. And I'm not hungry for those dreams. Like, that kind of defines a dream. It's something you're hungry for.
Yeah.
But this just keeps giving, where people are so gracious to you. And you're coming back. I'm limping back because, as age comes in. And the whole idea is use your body until it's worn out, till the wheels come off, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
so I'm limping back, because it's like a mile back. And people come up and they're just so gracious. And you're like, man, what a pleasure. You're still doing this. And
You are carrying a soaked skateboard in the rain.
No, that was going to be my thing. I was going to say,
Imagine that,
excuse
Rodney
me,
Mullen."
sir. I couldn't help notice that you were shirtless in the rain doing kickflip primo slides. Could you be Rodney Mullen by chance? Like, get the fuck out of here.
But it's just such a
No other person in the world that's doing that.
Thank you. But you're the feeling like, man, I'm still doing my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what you're doing. It's what you're doing in the
Yeah.
middle of the night. This is who you are. But when people come up and they treat you like that, you're like, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to meet you or walk with them. Like, tell me about you. And one dude's like a surgeon with a family. And he's like, he tells me the story of like, hey, my wife is also a doctor, right? And we're trying to raise our kids so that they don't feel they have to aspire to something for so-called greatness or respect. We want to teach our kids to do what your dream is. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's what you, like, he's telling me this. And very cognizant that they're both, doctors. They're both MDs. And so when I met you here, I found myself telling my kid, like, showing him your stuff. And I'm tripping out of like a generational influence of like,
But he must have skated in his youth.
Obviously, yeah,
Right.
he did.
But we talked about that, how people carry that with them, and you can see it on them, even if they don't look like a skater.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because, and I think, and look at what you're doing now. Again, not to cycle back, but come on, dude, look at what you're doing. Like, it's gnarly. And I was just talking to another friend about this, Brett Anthony Johnson, right? Creative director at Harvard. He left Harvard to do his own thing, like run the Misher Center, like the MIT of writing. That's insane. And he's just talking about, look, how many things prize, like, you're doing it for the sake of it, not for anything else. You're doing it for the sake of it until the wheels fall off. That shapes you. And those of us, and you don't have to be the best at all. It's just you do it for a matter of time. You continue to do it for the sake of it. That's beauty in itself.
Was that a difficult transition for you? Because for me, not winning everything and just being a professional in the end was what, career-wise, what I got out of it. And then when I, it wasn't as good and wasn't as pro or whatever it was, my fall from grace was not very far because I wasn't recognized on the street for my skateboarding ability. Like when I dropped off and I had to get another job, I mean, like I wasn't like, oh my, every now and then someone recognizes me,
right.
and that's cool. But it wasn't hey man, you could probably make money out of the amount of people that recognize you. It's not. You're just like, you ripped in the 90s. Good for you. That's it. So it wasn't that big of a transition for me to, like it was, you know what, I'm lying. It was difficult for me to not be pro anymore, but what's it like to be undisputably better than everybody else and then not compete, not want to be
more underground about it.
Yeah. Like how's that? It seems like it's more pleasurable for you to transition to not being in the limelight. But at one point you were competing, you were doing videos. What made, like, when you were like, I'm not going to do that anymore? Yeah. What was that like? To step back a little bit? Because it seems like you see yourself as someone that stepped back from it.
For sure.
All right.
So two things.
Okay.
That the beauty of, and this definitely connects because I remember you and I used to talk about this. Talk about Eddie Alguera. Like Eddie Alguera. I remember just looking at that dude in a magazine, never even saw him skate. But to me, I was like, that guy's special. You know?
Yeah.
And then he just poof disappeared at the highest. And you're like,
well, but also there was a little bit of right place, wrong time, where he was the most innovative skater when skating was at its absolute deadest state.
I'm with you completely, which you could, lots of things you can say about that. Like, how cool is that? You know what I mean? That, anyway, we could follow that. But I just want to say our conversation of, look, man, what's it going to be like when you're not who you were, meaning at the height of your powers? And I was like, oh, I just want to disappear like Eddie Alguera, And then, because that somehow seemed noble or so true, or I don't know, I guess you can consider it maybe the wrong word, but kind of a romantic ideal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then as you get older, you're just like, you know what, man? And again, something you and I talk about. It's like, we're not claiming anything. You're just doing what you love.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the community, is no one expects you to be that. This is who you are. Like Lance, right? A real skateboarder is not knowing when to quit. Like, talk about profound words, which brings me back to connecting with you, is, well, I'll say this, that, Ben asked me, how you doing, Rod? And I'm like, I suck. And then he goes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I haven't read his book, but he referenced it. If I have this right, and I may have that wrong, but I think I have it right. He's like, one of the first lines is, athletes die twice, And I think that's not something people relate to. I think you have to live that to relate to that. And it's something, all right, it's humbling, but
oh yeah,
it's humbling. But at the same time,
it's good for you.
It's good for you. And this is something we all share, no matter what.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can pick up a regular job and then go on, yet we share this in such a remarkable way that I think distinguishes us. Like later down in life, you're a skater, and here's where I would say about doing something in itself, this kind of bifurcate. I want to wheel back to this, doing something for the sake of it, nothing more than to be famous or whatever. That if you're doing it, that's a very distinctive person. And you may not have an ideal that this is what you're going to do. You just find yourself doing it along the way, right? It's just the nature of love, right? And the nature of love is sometimes a little bit of hate too, And I mean, it's strong. And eventually, if you take that route, it shapes you in an indelible way, which I think makes the skateboarding community and other very rare communities so distinctive and resonant, you know what I mean, through life. So anyway, I think that's something that bonds us all together in the same way, and we all feel it the same way.
I like the competitive thing, like the part of skateboarding where you compete, because I didn't get into skateboarding to compete, but at one point, that's all I cared about.
It becomes that.
I got to do well.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was answering to any sponsors or anything. I was like, I need to do well. And when I don't, I feel terrible. And when I do, I feel great. So that's my existence. And then I moved up to LA to do a radio show because they were offering me something where I was like, oh, shit, Jason, you are an uneducated man who can barely read. Like, this is you might live. You might, like, skateboarding was ending for me, especially career-wise.
Thriving elsewhere.
Yeah, so to do that and then years later get some knee surgeries and then come back and skate with these people for no sponsors, for the love of it, for nothing at all.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't get to do it as often as I would like, but every time I'm here, what I used to be like when I was really good, like how much fun I would have in a session.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get fucking angry. I get a little bit angry when I can't make some. I tried some for a couple of days a while back and I was like, I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
But I used to freak out and have like, my mind would crack a little bit from not being able to make something. Yeah. There's no stress. There's no drama. There's only the riding of the skateboard.
It's your version of skating in the rain.
Yeah. Okay.
It is, right?
Yeah, which is why
I'm just laughing.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude,
and how ridiculous
my board's just flipping away from me. Like, see ya.
I'm seeing the spray and the spiral.
That is as close as I can get to you skating in the rain because I'm glad that there's a smidgen of that's coming up alongside
that's my butt splitter is his skating in the rain.
But
I tried to squat out a trick the other day and shot out on my ass. Like, it's funny. This is fun. Still,
dude, I gotta say, watching that no-handed 540 you did, Ollie 540.
Yeah.
Tony, to see that in you, that was inspiring. Like that was inspiring to me. It really was.
Would you do that? Would you retire a trick? Would you like, all right, this is gonna be the last time I'm gonna do this?
Maybe. I have to think about it. I have to be the right,
Think about it. I chose tricks that the risk to reward is just not there for me anymore.
Yeah, right.
And I know I could still do it.
Right.
Maybe right now in this window of time, but I probably won't be able to do it in a couple of years. And if I did try it in a couple of years, I'm probably gonna eat shit.
Yeah.
Wow. So those are the tricks that I've chosen to let go of.
Yep.
But I wonder if there's anything like that for you where maybe it's just the difficulty factor is so high where it's just not worth that repetition.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Has that happened?
I was going through that a lot because I had some problems with my hip and stuff. And that liminal thing I did, that was something because I was pretty messed up for a bit. Like my bones started to fuse. And
liminal, he did a thing where they had all the cameras all around him.
Yeah.
He was doing tricks.
Yeah. Basically, that's how I met Danny Harrison and because that's like a level of people and their talent. Like, I'm not going to meet people like that,
Yeah.
But there's this dude, Steven Sebring, is like big time crazy photographer. Such a sweet dude too, He's like, hey, I got this crazy camera rig. It's like skating in a dark, small closet. Danny's like, hey, not that many people can do this. Sort of like a Stiller thing,
Yeah.
Rod, you want to try this? I'm like, dude, I'm hurt right now. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do anything. And if I do, probably won't be in public. And he's like, well, look, I have faith in you. So it's always here for you. We won't give it to anybody else. At that stage, I was like, are you kidding? He's like, fly to New York with this. It was cold. I remember it was in the winter. And I went in there and tested it out. I'm like, I'm ready. Yeah, I'll try that. I'm not good, but I'm good enough to test it. And when I got in there and saw the level of where they were and the challenge of this crazy thing, you only get like 2.5 seconds. They go 1, 2, 3, go. So half the time, the cameras go on for about a second or 2 seconds. And half the time, by the time you're in the middle of a trick and you hear the camera stop, meaning, the trick is hard enough and it didn't work because you have to time it exactly with the rhythm of the cameras because they're only going for 2 or 3 seconds or 3 seconds. Okay. And so it was rough that way. Meanwhile, it's crazy shot. Anyway, it was a challenge. So I was like, man, all of this is a nightmare, but that inspired me. So basically, I remember being able to, I made a few tricks and about a year later, I remember texting the dude. I was like, look, man, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to fly myself out. I'm going to get a cheap hotel. I'll stay for 10 days. And if you got time for me, it was perfect because you could only skate because I don't know, it's New York City. Like it was on the 10th floor or something. So you can only make that kind of noise when everyone's gone.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember,
so you can do it through the night.
Yeah.
Which is your...
And so he'd order like sushi and then Aussie on repeat, for 4 hours, which is just perfect for that type of night, Perfect. And it's just you and it was like skating in a teepee, basically, this little dome. And I remember, like, you know what, man? So what you're talking about, being motivated to do something, it was supposed to be an app. And I was like, if you want, but I don't really want to do an encyclopedia of tricks. I'd rather do something cool. They started cutting something together and made like a little storyline that had like a vibe to it that I didn't expect. So I was like, all right, I'll go back. I'll film this. So I went back and did that. My point is, belabored point is last tricks. Maybe at that time, it felt for me that feeling like working on a video, like when I was doing,
like there's a finality to it.
Not that's right. There was not only finality, but it is the word resurrected. It brought something in you that was maybe like when you were skating again with it. Like it brought something in you that you were working on that was part of you since you were a kid, of actually making a little video, landing a trick that was hard for you. Like a couple of tricks were hard, and like getting all the camera stuff, like that was hard. And I remember thinking, fuck, how good it felt. Like it ignited something that I had to like suffocate for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can fucking totally
like
agree to
stuffing
that.
a rag in its mouth type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like taking the rag out, like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
So the last night, the lights were so light. The lights were so hot because a bunch of models would go on that thing. So it had the crazy hot lights.
Yeah.
And I remember it would melt the ground a little bit because I had to put this sort of urethane coating on it. And I remember sticking my fingernail in that hot light after we shot the last trick, thinking that sense of finality that, dude, odds are you're probably not going to do anything like this again. So I'm not saying it's something great that I did. Come on, man, it's like skating like 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
But it's great that it tapped into that feeling again, because maybe nothing else is going to pull you into that again.
That's right. That's right. So maybe if something like that came along, or I kick into that gear. And then when it does, it ignites something in you. Like, this is who I am. If not, like I can bottle up that and keep it like, this is who I am, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be grateful for that. You know?
How are you with injuries now?
Oh, dude, how are you with injuries is the bigger question.
I guess that's a fair comeback.
Yeah.
I mean,
we hear about it all the time.
Yeah, I get stem cells and stuff to try and survive.
No way.
Yeah. But are you do you have a ligament? Like, are you hard to walk kind of? Like, how are you?
Without drama, you know what I mean? It's silly. It's ridiculous. So again, I don't do what you guys do. I got no glory stories.
But what would be your main ailment?
I'll just say this. I got a lot of miles on me. I skate a lot of hours. And
that's why we're asking this question.
And I put it this way. And again, no drama. I think it's kind of silly. I get off a plane not long ago. And I'm walking, I think I'm fine because you're just used to how you walk.
Yeah.
And you know how it is in a big airport, it's like big airports. And guy comes up with a wheelchair. He's like, hey, you need this?
Oh, because of the way you're walking? I mean, I hate misery loves company, but it makes me feel better when any of you guys are like, oh, like he told me once when we were skating, he was like, man, about an hour and a half is about as much as I can take. And then I get out of here and I was like, okay, good, because I am really tired right now. It's been about an hour. So I was like, I'm starting to be worried. I'm like, hey, is he tired? Because I'm fucking tired.
But you don't
I'm like, how long has it been? I'm like, it has not been as long as it used to be. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. You're like, how you doing? I'm great. I'm great. How are you? Like hoping that somebody's going to give.
Well, these days, on the rare occasion we're doing public demos.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, so you guys go for an hour? Like,
45.
Yeah. I think we'll be like somewhere around there.
Close to that. Right.
Dude,
that's a good enough
Tony,
answer.
you blow me away the level that you just keep going at it. That's awesome, man.
I'm just playing the hits.
Yeah,
So they're
right.
playing the hits.
I love it. I love how both of you have to kind of shit on it a little bit. Like, I'm just an asshole. I'm like, you're not. Like, I watch your work. Like, what you've done and what you can do is unmatchable. That's the end of it. Everybody knows there's no argument. Everyone's just happy you're here and thank you for existing because everybody else, think of all the skateboard stuff that we have because of you. I was showing my son, he didn't know what freestyle was. And I was telling him because I'm excited to talk to you. And I was like, you don't know, what do you mean you don't know what freestyle is? Look at this. And he's like, oh, wow, like little boards. I'm like, yeah, man, like this guy did, and I think it said the year. And I'm like, see that? People do that now.
Yeah. They aspire to that now.
He's doing it then. Before your dad could ride a skateboard.
It evolves so much further than just doing the stuff on freestyle boards.
Yeah.
I mean, what Rodney created was really the blueprint for modern skateboarding with all these tricks that you were doing on freestyle boards, which eventually you took to regular size boards. I feel like that was kind of Jeremy Klein was part of that, right?
He fully was.
Because he was like, all right, come on, Rodney.
Yeah.
Get over here.
That's right. I was packing it up, man. And
What?
really, because, freestyle died.
part of World.
And
Okay.
World. And they retired my board, literally. And I mean, like, you know what? Yeah, it's time. So I just skated the night after work. Like I was like, 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 10 to whatever, work, shipping, doing whatever it takes. And making boards for other people, and then just go skate on my own at night, like retired, right? And
Little board?
yeah,
Okay.
back then I would just skate for myself. And then like Rubbish Heap, do that, Jeremy Klein, breaking my board, do stuff on a big board. And I did it like, oh yeah, whatever that I said back then. And then later on, thanks to Mike Tenasky, him making some sort of bet, like he's like, look, I'm putting you on plan B. And I was like, don't do that. Like I cannot
This guy.
hang with those guys. Like this is going to be embarrassing for you. It's going to be embarrassing for me. And he's like, no, just come down, film. And I swear, man, just driving here, Tony, like driving out here, Vista, it brings back so many, because it's like looking for spots. Like looking for spots, like down here, like Sloshbach and all night spots and hotels, like trying to find a hotel because you film on the weekends, right? And it brought back so many memories of being down here, of starting over again and having people believe in you, and then gradually getting like, hey, I can do this. Like Tony, for you, because you've had so like, you and me both, right? We have very, yours is crazy level. But we had very similar path, and
a lot of parallels,
a lot of eras.
Yeah,
and again, for all the Bones Brigade, and there's something, call it sacred, call it something, and you Bones Brigade, right?
Yeah.
Or Powell,
B team.
well, is when you think of that time, like for as cool as like doing the doc and all that stuff was, and it was very special. But the things that I think of, I often frame things as this, like morbid, like dying. Like I don't think much about dying. Like I think about it all the time. Like, look, if you die right now, like, yeah, I'm good. I don't got kids. Like I'm good. Like I'm good. And when you think about the little flickers, you always hear you get, where it's like the reel of your life. Like which of those ones that are gonna like be those ones that are giving you that smile on your way out, right? And I figure most of those flickers are gonna come from those areas of me skating around here, like learning again,
Yep.
And like that era, like for me,
it's not winning the big event. It's not the
that's right.
99 score. It's those moments in between.
That's right.
Yeah.
That you're carrying into the modern age.
Yeah.
Like is that what you
absolutely.
feel?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is for me, Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's just, I think we have this distance now that allows us to enjoy it way more.
Yeah. Right.
And especially through those trying years and the challenging, like that all those birdhouse, all of us,
That's right.
6 dudes staying in a hotel room, like that was hilarious.
Yep.
That was a blast. Those are
Some of the best memories.
Some of the best memories. Yeah. And I'm sure like you were in charge of the world crew.
Oh my God.
Chaos.
And the Menace dudes?
Chaos.
Oh my goodness. I have stories.
But those stories are the
yeah.
ones when I hear you tell it with the most fondness.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it helped to shape who we are. And it was super fun. It was anarchy.
Like anarchy.
But that's what's funny about Rodney is that I don't think people know. Rodney is drawn to chaos and anarchy. That's why he loved Rocco. That's why he went to World.
Yeah, that is
He
because I
loved-
definitely thought he
yeah,
was somebody else for sure. He accidentally came to my house back in my party era in Encinitas where I'd been doing a lot of hard drugs. Like just back when I lived in a house where the person was a drug dealer in the upstairs part.
Crazy. What year?
Man, you're not going to get that out of me.
Okay.
You were on
I'm not good
World.
with
You
I was
were
World,
you were on
early
big
World
boards
days.
by now,
Okay.
and you'd come to the house. You're probably like looking for spots, like you were saying,
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah.
and I was in my room partying, and someone goes, Rodney Mullen's here, and I walked out into the living room going, fuck off, you fuck. There's no fucking Rodney.
Huh.
You're Rodney Mullen.
Wow.
And you're like, yeah, like, I'm in your living room, and I'm like, you shouldn't be here. And I'm like, I got so much respect for you. I was like, I should not be near you. Like, I need to go back in the room. You don't want to touch me. Like, I might have like residue on me. I was like, ugh. It was like a policeman had come to my house. But a policeman that I, you know, I mean, like,
Thank you.
No, I'm a vert dude, and a vert dude that hated everybody. Like, I was like, if you don't do Smith grind the body jars, you suck. Let alone like not right vert.
What you would think of a freestyle.
Yeah, you were so much further down. But you, like Christian said, when you were in those demos back in the 80s, they came to watch you. You were, you know, I would have been respectful to some other guys of that stature, but you were. I was like, it was like Tony gave me his kid once before I'd had kids, and he was like, here, hold this, and I was like, no, not me holding the baby. That's too much responsibility. I was like, oh man, he's such a nice person and doesn't do any partying. And I'm like, I was like, it's really good to see you, but I'm gonna go back and I hid.
But he's not some fragile fawn.
I just felt like he deserved to not meet Cocaine Jason.
Wow,
true.
That's what I thought.
Such crazy
I still
days.
back that.
But I had the experience of when I remember vividly
That guy
too,
was
and
terrible.
you may not remember this, but did you hang out with Rocco at that Oasis event?
He hated me at that event. No, I definitely did not hang out with him. He would not have me.
Wait, he hated you?
You guys
Then he
came-
turned into like a big brother after, like 6 months later. But believe me,
Yeah,
it was
so
not
it was. I think it might have been the next Oasis event.
Yeah. No, there wasn't.
Or maybe it was Del Mar.
It was Del Mar. It would have been Del Mar. Yeah, because he was definitely taking care of.
Okay,
Stacy would
so
dump me
you
off at
guys came
Rocco's
to
house.
Del Mar. You and Rocco.
Yep.
You were you already the freestyle king. Rocco was just mischievous.
Yeah.
Like always causing trouble.
Yep.
And you guys came over to watch me skate.
Yep.
And that is when and where I learned how to do ollied indie airs.
Whoa.
And I was trying to do it. I was trying to grab late.
Yeah.
And I finally made one in front of you guys.
Whoa.
You guys were the only ones there watching me.
Whoa.
And I remember him and you agreeing with him, and you're like, "That's the future.
That is. I remember.
That's
thinking that
the future of
exactly.
airs."
That's
and
right.
I was like, so stoked I made it. I've been trying this for a while. And
That's amazing.
thanks, you guys.
And not just the future of airs, but just you. That's what was dawning. Like, that's
Yeah,
the
I mean, I
future.
was just stoked to finally
Yeah.
ollie to grab.
Like
Yeah.
that's how far back, because that you saying, yay, I ollied into
It
an
was
aerial,
probably
that's
80
a long time
It
ago.
was probably 81.
Yeah.
81.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had just gotten on Powell.
Do you think having
Yeah.
ollies, a control on your ollie, is the beginning of like changing the way you can do aerials? Like if you have a good ollie, can you not sort of
but
get away with?
I'm talking about in this era, no one did ollie into grabs.
Right.
Everything
No,
was
I know.
early grab or right at the coping. Right. So I was doing that. It was mostly out of desperation because I just wasn't big enough to get that speed.
Could you do a backside ollie yet?
Little ones.
Okay, but did you? Because you
Not-
kind of always looked pretty comfortable in a
Little ones,
backside
yeah.
ollie.
Yeah.
Do you
But the parallels of our life and how they intersect was that he went and started doing ollie grabs off
Oh, you
flat.
did.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
right.
Because of you. That's
From
right.
Wait,
that.
you did the ollie
Yeah.
India because you saw him
Because
do the
of
that.
ollie India.
Airwalks,
No
all
way.
And then
Airwalks are
I
special.
went and learned finger flips because of him.
Ah,
And then he learned airwalks
Yeah.
because of me.
no, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It was crazy. So
Yeah.
we would just watch each other.
Yeah.
I'd go watch a freestyle. Like, what? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go try that one. Go up, and then he'd come watch me, and he's like, airwalk, okay. I'll do
Holy
that on the
shit.
ground.
The funnest stuff is from watching.
Yeah,
you,
man. Dude, I remember that was one of the first, the indie, and you boned it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I was like, get fucked.
Yeah.
You're doing a full-on vert
Yeah.
air off the ground.
That was Cover Thrasher,
Yeah.
right?
That was an indie ad for sure. Mofo, man, that night he was so drunk.
Wow.
That
See,
was,
he had to deal with drug addicts before you.
That's
That's the thing, though. We were so we were
man.
so. I mean, we spent whatever 6 weeks in Sweden,
Yeah.
and we were so young, and it was just
normal.
everything was normal,
Normal,
but
yeah.
but it was so chaotic.
But that was what fed you. That's still in us now.
Shit, that was so fun.
Yeah. And it's still in. Like,
Yeah.
it's still like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, well, my party, that guy's gone. I just pumped a skateboard with you guys, so I can finally just hang out the whole time.
I think that we witnessed all that, and we saw the chaos of it and how it damaged people, and especially their skills.
So it showed you,
and but
what
both
not to do.
right?
But both of us were so hyper focused on just learning new tricks, and new techniques. That it was just like, well, we can't do that because, I mean, you never did. I definitely, had some casual drinking and stuff like that, but you never did any of it.
No, I mean,
but what do you think that was why? Because you saw.
Yeah, I think that. Again, I'm coming off the farm back then, right? And I went through. So I lived in a residential neighborhood until like I was about 11, and then we moved, and that was a lot of isolation. So stoner kid, he was the one that got me started skating. He was the one that taught me to roll my first joint, right? And I was all like 10, 11.
That's what we were talking about.
Arena, when you were 10?
Yeah. And I remember there was a planter in the middle of the street. You know what it's like? Like, I don't know how many people, but certainly they're pretty common in Florida. Big planter. And I remember it was so overgrown because tropical. And we used to go there, get high there almost like every second or third day, fourth day. And I remember I'm a little kid, but with the older dudes, because you want to, I don't want to say impress, but you want to fit in.
Yeah.
And I remember being in there feeling like, crap, like this is not me, but they're the only ones, and I want them to accept me. And I remember thinking, and then I had to start to lie because I started to need money, you know what I mean, to buy. And I hated myself for lying. Hated myself. And so I remember thinking that, I remember I brought my helmet. I put on my helmet in because I was going to tell them, look, you guys, see named John and Robert, because Robert went to juvie. I remember I don't even know what. I was a little scared of him. And I remember telling them, look, you guys, I don't want to get high anymore. And thinking they would be pissed or like kick me. I don't know. You're a little kid. You think like little kids. Yeah. And I remember first thing I was saying is, no, you've got the talent. Don't be like us, dude. I remember them telling me that.
Yeah.
And so whatever it was, I don't want to say it was some drama. I don't want to like drama, but your little kid's kind of impressionable.
But that was an epiphany.
That was an epiphany.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing it robbing them because they skated to do that stuff. It was like a scene.
Yeah.
And I remember when I pushed that away, I focused that much harder. And again, I'm like a nerdy, I don't say nerdy, but I'm just like a raggedy little kid that didn't fit in, didn't talk much. And I suddenly saw that I was learning fast. I'm sure the same all of us, right? And they took pride in that. Like, that's our boy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember that stuck with me because likewise, I respected him. I was learning from him. I learned, he was like the most stylish guy. And I remember how fast I passed him up. And I was like, whoa, hold on to this. This is your ticket. This is everything. Whatever it was that cut a groove in me that never left. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just smart that you kept it to keep the discipline, because you can, when you go, you can relate. I'm like, dude, don't put me in this conversation. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I did have a window of I put in a lot of work and then something happened, something clicked. And I've had several epiphanies where I'm like, I'm not a part of this gang anymore. I'm moving to America and I'm going to make something out of myself in skateboarding. Like, that's my thing. And not, things got bigger, and my childhood had a lot of drinking and partying that was normal to me. So I didn't catch that. And I wanted it just as much as you do. Like, I feel like I wanted to win just as much as you guys did. And I didn't catch that I wasn't winning because I was drunk the day before. It took me, by the time I think I realized, I was already addicted and I couldn't make it
That was
stop.
also kind of a scene in skateboarding too. At that time, like I remember seeing like powders and stuff coming in.
I heard Lance tell somebody once that like another Australian came to America and talked to Lance and was like, yeah, Jason's really good, but he kind of like, hangs out with the wrong crew. And he's like, yeah, I was witness to him making that choice because I started hanging out with another group of people that were.
Lance said it that way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that I started hanging out with this other person that was a really good skateboarder, but also a heavy
Yeah.
party person. And then I was doing what you were doing, where I was trying to live up to, like, you're gonna drink it. I'm like, I'm gonna drink anything you're drinking. You know what I mean?
I'm Jason the party dude.
Yeah, it was like, we're gonna do shots, and I'm like, I'm doing all the shots so that you guys will be proud of me.
Plus, they're killing it too, right?
Yeah, but then there's that window.
Yeah,
This is my
it's a
experience where
window.
you party and you're still ripping, and then
It
you're
catches
not,
Not quite
and
as
you're
much.
like,
Yeah.
probably a bad day.
yeah.
What's going on? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then
It's
if
too
you don't
late.
pay attention, it's gone. It's past.
I saw a lot of that.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
So I feel like having that discipline to know, especially at such a young age, to go, no way, I'm not doing it.
Thank you.
What
But
was the town that you lived in?
Gainesville? And then Gainesville's a smaller town, and then we moved out of it. Brought a lot of Indian or Native American names, Alachua County, and so we moved out about. You had to drive because I had to take the bus to school. So you had the bus for the city. You had to drive about 20 minutes to get to the bus. So we're pretty much out there in the city.
Yeah.
Gainesville was the farm.
Gainesville's the city,
Wait,
and
no, but
we
I mean-
lived way outside the
Way
city
outside,
limits.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we all went to the Kona
Oh,
contest
my
and then
gosh.
drove to your house?
Oh, I will never forget that.
So you've been to his house,
Yeah.
to the farm.
Yeah.
No, that was Wait, did you go to the farm? You went residential house.
No, you had cows.
Oh, it was the farm?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so-
wow.
This is my version of it,
Yeah.
just because I was really young and I was hanging out with Barry. I must have been on PAL by then. Yeah, I was on the
For sure.
Brigade.
Yeah.
But whenever we go to Florida, Barry would just take us. He'd take us. We'd have to go eat his
Yep.
Mac toast and shit.
and alfalfa.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Peanut butter.
Yeah, like we would go to like Waffle House, but he would bring his own bread. He's like, "Can you toast these for me?"
For sure.
Fucking
Because he
Barry.
was like
Totally.
super healthy.
Totally.
But we went to Kona, and I remember he's like, "We're gonna go visit some friends. Visit a friend after the contest. We're in Jacksonville, right? I don't know the layout of the land.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I'm on a map. Barely.
Yeah.
Like I'm so young. I'm just
Right.
like whatever. Yeah, cool. So he's like, all right. After the Kona contest, we all get in his van. Me, Tony Magnuson,
Maybe. Yeah.
Stedham,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Statham for sure. I remember
Statham?
that. Yep.
and someone else. And it's just old VW van. He's got all of his shit in it. There's no seats. We're all on the floor. He just starts driving. For how long is that drive?
Couple hours.
No. It's like 5 hours. He keeps saying, we're just going down the road. He won't tell us because he won't.
And he won't tell you
because he
how
knows
far.
if he gives me the reality, I'm a little kid. I'm like, I'm not going with you. I'm not driving for 6 hours.
Right.
He's like, we're going to Rodney's house. We're going to go visit Rodney. I'm like,
That's
where's
so
Rodney live?
Barry.
Just down the road.
Oh,
And so I get in the van. For whatever, 6 hours later, we show up at Rodney's farm
Yeah.
and his mom welcomes us.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was crazy. And we're like we're hanging out. I mean, did billiard table?
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
memory.
And for me, like I'd never seen anyone had a billiard table at
Yeah.
their house.
oh, okay.
I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
And cows.
cows,
It's got
billiard
everything.
table. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your mom made us burgers
Oh, my
Yeah.
from the cows.
God.
Oh,
that's
real Holyfield burgers.
Real
Yeah.
deal burgers. And I was like, this is like some weird dream. This is crazy.
Dude, you bring back such a good memory. I'd forgotten like that stuff. Yeah, you used to name the cows and still one day the cow came
That's
back.
right. And he said, he's like, oh, was this
Babe.
babe?
Yeah.
Oh.
And your mom's like,
Does it come back
yeah.
on a bunch of white paper?
Oh.
And, yeah.
Are you a meat eater?
Yeah, not a huge meter, like a lot, you know what I mean? But
Be more-
I grew up with that.
Right. But you more of a plant-based guy.
Yeah. Plant, fish, whatever, chicken, you know.
Is that like you do that because you want to stay healthy, or you just do that because that's what you like?
It just feels clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey.
you know what I mean? If somebody put a good steak, then make me feel a little heavy after, whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
okay.
I'm not a fanatic. You know?
Right.
What about you?
I'm on his program. I do. Yeah. I mean, I like eating plant-based for the most part, but I'll fuck up a steak.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Someone.
Yeah, I mean, I used to eat pretty bad, and then when I got sober, then I got into
Right.
mixed martial arts, and then obviously, then you start hearing all the little things you do to make yourself healthier. So I just recently changed to plant-based completely.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Good. I did it for the first time ever. I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to wake up in the morning and go, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Exactly. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Skateboard. And then wake up in the morning and go, how you feel?
Yeah.
And if it's less painful than the meat eating
Go with
you,
that.
then just keep doing what you're doing. So that's all I'm doing.
So it's working.
Yeah, it does.
awesome.
But Rodney, he doesn't indulge. He doesn't eat to excess. So, you know,
You do? You think?
more than him for sure.
When you say he doesn't eat, you say that you think he has
I
too
think
little of a
you
meal?
eat in moderation, right?
I
What?
guess. Yeah,
Oh, you
I don't
do?
know. I don't think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, I'm just real simple that way. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I think
There you go.
what
That's
like
the secret. That's the secret to Rodney's.
I know,
There
I
it
was
is.
gonna
We've
say, there's a-
uncovered it finally.
Look, there's a few secrets, and probably some of them could be just I'm Rodney Mullen, but there's no doubt, especially when you're older, diet, it's like drinking and drugs
Sure.
when you're younger. Drinking and drugs when you're younger, maybe lasts a little bit, and then it eventually gets you.
And they get you.
Then when you get to 50s, food will get you. A burger will make you skate shit.
Yeah.
That never, I remember never read anything I don't read. And one time in an article in a magazine, Michael Jordan interview where he said he had a 12-ounce steak and 2 ginger ales before every game. So I don't know anything. He's the greatest athlete in the planet. So I'm having a 12-ounce steak.
Yeah.
And then I think I did it for like 4 contests. I was like, man,
I don't feel that great.
yeah.
That's not good.
I don't feel like good in the contest. And people were like, wait, what? You eat a what? I'm
Wait,
like,
what?
Michael Jordan does it? And they were
MJ.
like, yeah, they were like, you idiot. Yeah.
I
didn't
told
work.
this story on the show, but do you remember when Stacy we would all stay at Stacy's parents' house, Santa
Yeah.
Monica, for any of the
Good
events, Pomona,
memories.
Pipe and Pool, Upland, Big O.
He lived with
Whittier.
his parents?
His mom and dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean when he was Bunsring was starting, no one's making any money,
Right.
Stacy especially.
Yep.
And he's funding our trips to California,
Yep.
his trip to California, and it was just like shoestring budget. So we're all staying at his parents' house, and then what was I gonna say? Shoot. Oh, he would, and then the night before the contest, he would always take us to Westwood to go get pasta.
Oh my gosh.
Guys,
Good
gotta get
memories.
Cobra High, right?
Good memories.
But I told the story that, do you remember we one time skated from the car and then you were skating and people started crowding around you?
Yeah.
And then he was a street performer.
Oh, yeah. And then
By
the street
default.
performer got mad at you for taking people's attention.
Yeah,
That-
I definitely have a few of those stories. One of the crazier, and yeah.
So I told that one, but go on.
Oh,
Yeah.
New York City. First time went to New York, right? Again, kid off the farm, and Swatch thing, like doing Broadway
Oh, yeah.
show thing. I go out at night because you're working like, what a crazy world all that Broadway stuff is, right? They're
Yeah.
going practicing. They got choreographers. Like I'd never seen that world. And so I'm like, get me away from that. I'll do what I have to do for Swatch. But I just go skate at night, every night, you know? Draws a little crowd. Well, this is like early L Cool J street, breakdancing days.
Yeah.
And I remember skating and out of nowhere, all these dudes start coming around and making it bigger, hyping it up, like, oh, like, right. And obviously this is what they do. And like, I'm just skating, doing my thing. And they're hyping it up. Dude takes off his hat, starts cruising around, all this money, because they're pro. This is what they do. And I'm just tripping out. Like, I don't know these people. And he's like, give it up for my man. Goes out there, like getting money from people, like really, like, as you know, it's not like they do it with force. And they just takes off.
I was like, he is not coming over to give you a share, is he?
Not at all.
Man,
one of the
I kind of like him a little bit.
Exactly.
It's a
You
pretty
gotta
sweet
say,
move,
That's how I
yeah.
felt like, dude, this is like the big thing. This is awesome. So one of the guys, like one of the main ones, you could tell, like breakdancer, like super fit, would have had like a whole paint 5-gallon bucket full of like coins and cash. He's like, I hope you don't mind. I can pay it back. And I'm like, no, man, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I was not here. And then I ended up just hanging out with that guy that night. It was interesting. He left me. He went into Tower Records back in the day in New York City. Bought stuff, came out, left me with his money, right? Left me with his money.
Yeah.
You mean the money he stole from you?
No, that was already long
The
gone
guy.
by some of the.
That guy's gone. He's partying.
And he's like, you should come back with this. We do this Empire State Building on the weekends. We'll call you. We got to get you some different clothes, man. And we call you the Mighty Whitey.
Yeah.
And at that stage, I was just taking it all in, like whatever you say, knowing I could not do
Hey,
that.
I
you
say
know?
down with Mutt, up with
Yeah.
Mighty Whitey.
Never saw him again, but I remember
I
thinking.
never saw that on one of your graphics, Rodney. What's that?
Yeah.
My new email address. So I left. I remember thinking this.
I would be
dude-
so weird if you emailed me and your shit was Mighty Whitey. I'd be like, oh,
Gmail.
maybe he's a little
Yeah,
weirder than
wait
I
a
thought.
second. What do we not know about Rodney?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, good memories. But you must have so many memories, like as much as you travel, like crazy things. It's
Yeah,
just-
but the whole thing that you had this crossover with street performer was really unique.
yeah, I definitely got
I
a
think
lot
it's
of
really
that.
cool.
It happens all over. Like I don't say all over, but I would say like 5 or 6 big cities, half dozen times for sure. Yeah.
Do you ever? Well, I know it's really late at night, but if you're just cruising back to your hotel or if you're out in the middle of the night skating from home, do people just drive by like, what? Did you just see Rodney Mullen?
Oh, the great one of the, Nightcrawlers. That's a different world. Your Nightcrawler. Did you see that movie, Nightcrawler?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that movie is awesome. Just all around LA. And just think of all the hours you spent on spots. They were like I love that movie. Anyway, I just
I feel like it's a different thing for you than the average person watching that movie because you're relating to it because that guy's by himself in the middle. It's
oh my
dark
God,
and
the crazy
that's what
things
I
that
do
happen.
all the time.
And you're skating behind buildings and stuff. It's that life. You're looking for out of the way, so you're not waking people up, but it's got to be well lit. Like there's all these parameters, and that naturally will put you in a place where people in their cars. In the madness of going out every night like that, 3 a.m, the things that have happened to me, Nightcrawler stuff, that is, those are some of my favorite, like, not even that long ago, just a couple of years ago, like, dude pulled a gun on me. And I remember, like, maybe I've had a gun pulled once, twice, but this was different because, I'm older and you're mature and the way I feel about living and so I'm out just, is this worthwhile telling?
Yes.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes, this is amazing. We're in.
yeah, like I remember reading books, a couple books like on combat and basically what happens when so much adrenaline is going on, like probably something, like life and death stuff better, that when you have so much adrenaline, your focus and stuff like that messes with you. Like if you're that scared, people literally cannot see the numbers to dial the phone because of the way your
Wow.
body works, where the way we're working under that sort of amygdala fight or flight stuff.
Yeah.
So like you're working with like reptile brain stuff. So where I'm going with this is mind plays tricks on you. So I'm skating and a number of people, again, night car. This is what I do every night. So I got a lot of stories like 2, 3 a.m, random places in LA, wherever. Those are some of my most interesting times, just Nightcrawling. And some stuff you don't even share. So I'm out, Staples parking lot. There's no one around. Again, I'd say, I don't know, 2:30 or so. And streetlights go off in a certain area and they're lit on one. So there's like the darkness beyond that, right? Because the way your eyes work. And meaning that beyond the lights, it looks black.
Yeah.
And out of that blackness comes a car, like I don't know, just car. I'll leave it at that. And he's making a beeline at me. And if there's anything I've learned, I'm not you. I'm not some, like, I can't handle myself like you. But whatever I learned, there's a chase instinct, right?
Yeah.
In all things, when you're on that level. Whatever you do, because you don't know his intent. Odds are 60% it's not a good intent.
Right.
And crazy stories up in Oxnard. Like the crazy story up in Oxnard. But this guy's coming to me and I'm thinking, whatever you do, don't start going the other direction because then chase stuff and then you're weak and you're inviting trouble. So whatever you do, I'm not a tough guy. But
you're just trying to act like you're not going to be intimidated.
You go at him.
Yeah.
And I start skating toward him.
Okay.
And as he's coming, the only thing I really notice, like the only thing that starts to dawn on me is how big his eyes are.
I can see his eyes.
Yeah. Because it's getting that close.
Okay.
And he's rolling pretty slow.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's tweaking.
Something.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing his eyes, and this is where I go with the amygdala, like brain stuff. something's galvanized in me that a part of you comes out that you don't know until you're faced with that situation, you know? And again, I'm not saying I'm tough, you know, and I don't get me wrong, but part of me, like, if the worst happens, you know, like part of me wants to die, I think. And when he's coming at me and I see his eyes so big, I can't see anything but his eye. I mean, of course I see it, but his eyes are so big. And I'm not seeing what's happening outside the window, right? Because he's driving, and with his other hand, then I see the gun. And I don't know guns, you know? Like, yeah, I've seen a lot of movies. It's a gun,
that'll do.
It's whatever Glock looking thing.
Yeah.
I don't, you know?
A handgun.
It's like a super square looking, like it's not a revolver. And it's crazy square looking. And what I remember, like the squareness and around the barrel, like it looked huge. Like this thing looked huge. It's, again, tricks of the mind. But when you're that, like, whoa, this guy's got, and I remember, like, he's coming to me and I see the gun and then I go right back to his eyes and then I'm toggling and back then he's coming and I'm getting closer because I'm still rolling and he's still rolling. So that's coming faster. And all that came out of me, I remember, is like this thing of like, what are you doing, you know? And whatever it was, his whole like his eyes, his countenance, his eyes changed. It changed. Like he snapped into like a person again. I don't know. There was something there.
Yeah.
And
no, you snap crazy people back to reality. I've done that.
Yeah, that's all I know. And again, I'm not saying I'm
Your
tough.
confidence
it just came
made
out.
him. He pulled a gun and you went. You were like, what is that shit?
Kind of.
Instead of
yeah.
So yeah, you've got him on his heels.
Whatever it was an immediate change in his eyes, and then he just rolled really gently by me. And I remember seeing the gun dropping as he rolled past. And I was so fired up, like in my heart. I just like, and then you feel so good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Do you want to come to my gym, you fucking maniac? Holy shit. This guy, I got fighter friends that have been in fights their whole lives. This guy's story, I'm like, okay, fuck you. I ain't fucking with you.
Again, all I'm saying is that's not courage. It was just something that wells out of you. And it was the craziest thing. And I just remember feeling so good. And I got my car and I was like, why do you walk through life so afraid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I worry too much.
Yeah.
I worry too much.
Yeah.
Like you ever think,
it's like your Fight Club moment.
Kinda,
I don't know why. I never thought I'd relate to you more. I'm like, this is,
Yeah, I worry too much. If I were to meet me as a little kid, I would shake me. I would like hold me because I worry too much. You know, as a kid.
But now you don't.
Oh, no, I still worry. But in that moment, it's a clarity.
What's this death thing that you don't fear? That you
but do you think that maybe it's because that's what I picked up on too.
Yeah.
But when you said, you know, maybe part of me wants it. Are you saying it's because if something bad went down, you don't want to live through that trauma?
I don't know. I don't think about it that way. I just, it's hard to put a hand on, you know? But
I think it's because you've done everything?
Maybe.
You've accomplished so much that you're...
Maybe I have
because you said you're so... Yeah, that's what you said. Like, because I've had some heart issues and I've had to like be at a hospital and they were like, you might have to have a heart transplant. I'm okay now, but there was definitely a few times there where I've been in AFib and been in the hospital. And I was like, this is it.
Well, but you're saying it's more that you're at peace with it.
Maybe I need a shrink for that or something. But
yeah, you might not her, but I've had to, because it was on my mind so much. I have a heart, it jumps. So it jumps all the time. So every time I jump, I go, is this it? And then I live like that. I'm like, dude, I can't live where I go, hey, I think it was awesome being your friend.
Right.
Like, and then I'm like, oh, no, I'm still going to be here. I'm your friend. I'm like, dude, fuck living like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So I had to get to a point where I was like, well, then go on.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to live my life.
Yeah.
You know, like when it jumps down, I'm like, well, then go on.
Yeah.
Because right now I've got a show to do.
Yeah.
I'm living my life, baby. I feel like if it goes, I'll be like, you're a good dude.
Dude,
you did a lot of effort. You're not a bad guy.
Yeah.
And you can say goodbye. I don't want to.
Yeah. I hear you.
But when it
I'm
comes,
not going to ask for it.
right?
Yeah.
But I feel like you've analyzed it so much that you can.
There's something in there that knows. Yeah.
It's a better way to live because
that
I don't want to.
you can come to terms with it.
Yeah.
Right. I still fear it, but I'm just less. It doesn't irk me. You know, like if you start waving around the end, I'm like, well, look, if it happens, it happens. You know, I'm really in the now of like, am I having a good time now? Are you having a good time around me? Okay, cool. That's it.
What I say, and I have to pull back for a second. I'm not saying I have courage. I'm saying you have a lot more courage than I do.
I'm saying you have a lot of courage and you don't let it get out of it. You have to say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, you know, all I know is there's something there, you know, and it makes you want to just like, fuck, you know, things happen. People you love, tell them you love them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fuck yes, I do.
Yeah. So.
Well, we love you, Rodney. We do. We love it. I love that you came here. I love that we had this journey together of our skate life that paralleled and,
Me too,
and
Tony.
came apart and came back together and
in the best way, Tony.
in the best ways.
In the best
It's been
ways.
so fun, and it's been an honor to ever be mentioned in the same breath as you.
Oh my God. And
Always.
right back at you, Tony. I mean, truly.
And thank you for doing our little podcast.
Yeah.
This is the longest one
Thank
we've ever
you.
done.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Are you kidding me? We would just keep going.
Yeah, I want to know more about the wetboard, but hey, we got to move
The
on.
wetboard, yeah, and the first kickflip, and I mean,
Yeah.
let's put it this way: when he first did kickflips, we didn't understand how his board flipped, so we called it the magic flip.
Yes.
That's what the original name was.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, because
little while.
kickflips were when you get your board under you get your foot under your board and you manually flip the board. That was a kickflip.
Yes, I
that
remember
was
those.
the original kickflip.
Yeah.
And then he did what became known as the ollie flip, but we didn't know what the hell he did it, so we called the magic flip. Do you remember the first time you did it
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
on the farm?
Yeah. Outside in the driveway. Yeah. I remember everything about that. It's funny how little things.
What's your farm flat ground area that you were riding? Did
Yeah.
you-
Good question. So, you know, my dad developed the land. My dad's successful, and so he bought a bunch of land, and so he built the roads. Well, had people built it, but he definitely helped, and we all did. And outside of that, it's your own driveway, and there's 3-car garage. So that's where we moved. I had nothing else, just skate in the garage, and then we later got better asphalt to it because there's nothing but grass and dirt roads, right?
Did you put the better asphalt on there for you, or it was?
You know, he did that for the cars eventually.
Okay.
But it was, or I would say it was there, but whatever the case, it felt later because I know I started in the garage, and then later on when things started to come, he had a barn. We had a barn. It was 50 yards from the house, whatever. And I remember he put cement in there for me, and to me that was like a real like, hey, thumbs up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he definitely supported me in that way.
Yeah.
So I ended up skating there. But anyway, so I did it right outside the garage. Yeah. And then the garage. Yeah.
But you're
Anyway.
all alone. You're trying to figure out how to flip your board after an ollie. You flip it, you land it.
It was, you know what
Is
I mean?
there? But I want to did birds start singing the clouds part? Or did you go, that was cool?
Yeah. Did you know that you had something?
It was like my board mocked me. No, I just, I was ollies because I had like the mechanics of ollies. And I was one day at dawn on me, I was like, jump, stupid. And then, oh, you can do an ollie. And then I remember doing that. It's like learn ollies where you get it a little wrong, comes up between your legs, right? And you spaz out, right? Because you don't want to. And I remember in so doing, when I flung my foot, it caught the edge and my board flipped. And I'm watching it flip and land right on its wheels in front of me. It was like it was mocking me, I was too stupid to figure that out. And when it did, I was like registered. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's mocking me.
Fuck.
And so it took, because we all have control at that level, just like you, right? You pick up something, you can do it within a couple hours, whatever it was. Yeah.
But when you did it, it was like, oh, that was cool.
You know what? I would ask you these questions, like some of those early tricks, like when you do it.
Yeah, but I had validation in that I had other people that I was skating with, and people were doing vert. No one was even approaching the things you were doing. You're doing it alone in a barn, and so I'm wondering if you knew that there was some spark there of that.
you know,
you felt like something was there.
you know, Tony, thank
Because
you.
you felt it was worthwhile, not just for you.
And this sounds silly, but yeah, on the farm, I would come over here, K-Rock. I would, to make tapes, K-Rock, right? Because I'm going back there, and out here, I'm with you.
Oh, K-Rock, the
K-Rock,
FM.
the radio
Yeah,
station,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that was like, to me, representing California, all the stuff was Oingo Boingo days, whatever, 80s. And I would tape all that stuff. It was like going back and holding my breath and just skating and doing that. To your point, there's nothing there. You know you're doing something that's kind of cool because, you know, at that level, we're getting pretty good. And I remember first kickflip, first whatever series of tricks that I know, like, this could have ramifications, you know? And, but there's no one to tell. You just feel that lighten up. And in that moment, and here's where I go back to you, Tony. And I mean, I can make a broader of what is respect and fame, right? Is because there's a spectrum, there's a gradation that's kind of spooky, scary, and insidious. The spectrum between respect and fame. And it's respect of peers. What I bottled up in me at that time is I get to call Stacy, and in a matter of months or a year or whatever it is, yes, I have the gratification of doing what you doing, making all that you can of the gifts and everything that's been given to you, right? You only have so much time to do that. Go. But once you're in with a bunch of people, like a very small group that gets it, like you, like, believe me, I can't begin to tell you how much you were a lifeline to me when I was over there for 6 months, a year at a time, that I would think of being at Del Mar, being there where I would get to think, then I'll, you know, like showing kickflips to them, to Tony. That connection, that kept me going and striving. It was like bottled up inside, you know? So how did I feel? Were birds singing? Nah, it was just this like, oh, I'm going to make this better. And when I go back out, like, it'll make me feel that much more connected with my peers that have taken us a lifelong of connectedness. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's what's building, you know? That's what it was.
Well, we are thankful you did it. And we're thankful you shared it with us.
You're an inspirational bastard, dude. Unbelievable.
Rodney,
Thank you, Tony.
it's an honor.
Thank you.
If you don't like that, I don't know. Maybe check out Joe Rogan Experience because that was fucking amazing. You're the best, dude. That's so good. See you next week, everybody.
Right on. Thank you.